Rabbi Nachman says that in the final generation, and this is even more intense as we get closer to the coming of Mashiach, the Yetzer Hara is going to be called Koach Midameh, the power of imagination. The Gemara says 7 names for Satan, for the, so to speak, archetypal or paradigm of negativity in the world, that all negative energy, all negative force, all negative influence comes from this place called Satan, or the Baal Dever. And there's 7 expressions of it that are given in the Gemara. It expresses itself differently in each generation, dependent on what it's trying to do and what it's trying to prevent from happening. And Rabbi Nachman says in the final generation, referring to us, there's going to be a brand new Yetzer Hara, one that the Gemara never even spoke about. It's called the Koach Midameh, the power of your own imagination. So what is he talking about? Your soul is called Da'at. Your godly soul is called Da'at. It's called pure God consciousness. That means that you know that everything is coming from Hashem. Everything is for your best. Everything is to bring you closer to Him. That is your godly soul, that consciousness. But our souls have been flung down to a very, very dark place, and we are steeped in the Sitra Achra. And the Sitra Achra's whole purpose is to not influence our Da'at because it can't touch it. It's to influence our imagination. Because our imagination is very close to the Sitra Achra. It's called Chava. And the Nachash is busy with Chava. He's not busy with Adam. Because Adam represents the Nefesh Elokit, the godly soul, the God consciousness. He is busy trying to convince Chava. Why? Because Chava is very vulnerable. Chava is the power of imagination. And this is actually where Emunah comes from. Many people ask, why do I not have Emunah? I want to have Emunah. And I stress all the time that the key is not to look at secular wisdom and not to learn things that are taking you away from Emunah Shlema. And you might say to yourself, it sounds very extreme. And what's the reason? Why does it have to be so intense that I could only get this one thing and nothing else? And the reason is because everybody in this generation, our imagination is completely distorted. The way that we conceive of reality is very, very damaged. And we're not able to see clearly because we see the world through our imagination. Rabbi Nachman says, Emunah comes from the imagination. So how do you fix the power of imagination? You fix it with Da'at, with pure God consciousness. And this is Rabbi Nachman's whole thing. He is trying to give you Da'at, because Da'at rectifies the power of imagination. However, your ability to receive Rabbi Nachman's Da'at, which comes from the highest places, is dependent on your ability to get rid of anything which is strengthening the power of your broken imagination. And that comes from secular wisdom, and that comes even from rabbis and from teachers who don't have real emunah. And they live, so to speak, how do you say it? Chetzi, half. I believe in Hashem all the time, completely, but I also believe that I have to give into nature, and that this is a force that's outside of Hashem, and Hashem doesn't have a realm in this place. And even though they may not say they feel like that, they live like that. Why do they live like that? Because they don't have da'at. How do you get da'at? Da'at comes from Chassidut. Da'at is knowledge that's like a mikveh. It purifies you. Why was Rabbi Nachman insisting that you're busy with his wisdom every day? Because every single time that you learn his Torah, it's like you're jumping in a mikveh. But in order to completely purify the power of your imagination, you need to get in that mikveh every day. And you need to sit in that mikveh, and you need to think about that mikveh, and you need to live with that mikveh. But if you come into a mikveh and you have a sheretz in your hand, like the Gemara says, if you go into a mikveh and you have a non-kosher animal in your hand, a creepy crawler, is it considered that the mikveh purified you? The answer is no. Why? Secular wisdom. You're still listening to people who do not have a munah. You're still learning from people who don't believe ein o milvado, everything is from Hashem. You're still reading news articles from people who believe that we are at the whims of politics and nature. You're still watching things in terms of sexuality that are increasing the power of your imagination. Rabbi Nachman said to his students by the end of his life that were living with him, I have given you all a pure, clear power of imagination. Now you can use it well. Because imagination is also the key to everything. However, your ability to use your imagination properly is dependent on your ability to make it crystal and pure and clear. All of our sadness comes from a blemished power of imagination. All of our anger comes from a blemished power of imagination. All of our despair comes from a blemished power of imagination. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You didn't deserve that. You didn't do something for that. These souls fell down to this place because we are the only ones who are capable of getting out of here. And when we do, we take everything with us. The reason why the Sitra Achra is busy making everybody in this generation's mental, emotional, psychological, relational life hell is because when the Jewish people of this generation do tshuva, they return to their true self, that brings redemption. It's not like a prior generation where a person's learning and he's keeping the world afloat. If people in this generation go back to their true self, return to their God consciousness, that means that all negativity in the world is going to be abolished and swallowed up whole. Because Malchut, which is the final, which is the end, which is where all of our souls come from, even though Malchut is the most vulnerable to the Sitra Achra, when it finally leaves, it takes everything from it. It empties out Egypt. And the key is Da'at. So, if you're going through difficulties, if you're going through challenges and tribulations in your life, the main thing is not to give up, to keep going, and to keep going back to Rabbi Nachman's Torah. Even when it's not convenient, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's difficult. Because this itself is what is going to purify you. Think about it. When you say to yourself, do I want to learn right now Rabbi Nachman's Torah? No. So this person just told me like this, and now I'm having trouble with this issue and with that issue. I'm just not going to learn today. I'm not going to learn this. I don't want to try and live with this. It's too much for me. This is what your power of imagination wants. It does not want you to go and learn b'koach. It doesn't want you to take your imagination and stick it into a mikveh. So imagine every single time that you delve into any pieces of wisdom that Rabbi Nachman is teaching, you need to understand you're literally jumping into a mikveh. But you can't bring a sheretz into there. You need to keep that creature outside. So if you want to feel the mikveh, you have to eliminate anything that's not kosher. And that doesn't take a day to do. That takes time. But Satan does not want you to ever get to the point that you jump in the mikveh without a sheretz, because then he's done. So no matter what you're going through, and no matter what you've heard, no matter what's happening to you, do not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. And one day you're going to be sitting in Yerushalayim. The main thing is not to give up. It's easier to say, hard to do. That's right. You know what the key is? Just keep doing it. Start over again and do it again. And then you fall again, you start over again, you do it again. Start over again, do it again.
Yeah, Rabbi, but after a while, you start feeling like it's already like pointless type of thing. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That is Satan Mamish. You don't know how holy your souls are. You don't understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to leave behind Mitzrayim. Did Paro want the Jews to leave? Every single time the Jews were closer to leaving Egypt, what did he do? He made the work harder. He made them suffer more. The fact that you're struggling is not a problem. It means you're doing good. It means you're closer to leaving. Moshe Rabbeinu came to Hashem and said, I don't understand. Why did you send me here? You sent me here to help them, and their lives are getting harder and harder. And Hashem said to Moshe, just wait and see. Just wait and see. You will leave that place if you don't give up. If you give up, you will not leave that place. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about how charismatic you are. It's not about how learned you are. It is about simple faith. That Hashem loves you. That Hashem wants you. That Hashem thinks every day about you. That Hashem created the whole world so He can be with you. But we are given a very serious task, and that is to bring the Mashiach. And it's no joke. People have been crying for this for thousands of years. We are going to see the Mashiach. They said in the Gemara, I don't want to be there in that generation that's going to see the coming of the Mashiach. Why? Because they knew what we're all going through now. But we signed up for this. That means we can do it. You need to hold on to Rabbi Nachman with all your heart and soul. You need to hold on to him and to hold on to him and not to let go of him. No matter how many times people tell you, you're insane, you're nuts, it's not normal. Your ability to have the mikveh purify you, to have Rabbi Nachman purify you, is you need to get rid of the sheretz. You need to get rid of secular wisdom. You need to get rid of watching porn. You need to get rid of watching movies that are making you feel something that's not real. I know this sounds bizarre. But you know movies are not real? We all know that, right? It's acting. Do you really know that? Do you know that all those shows that you watch and all those movies you watch are not real? The people who are playing in those roles don't have good lives. They've been divorced multiple times, and they have many children from many different wives and husbands, and they have no peace at all, and they owe money to a lot of people, and they often are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and they're not happy. And we're all watching them and trying to be like parts that they play in cinema. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how insane that is? They're called actors. Can you imagine if I told you right now, I am an acting rabbi. I'm not a real rabbi, I'm an actor. I'm dressing like a rabbi. I'm pretending to learn like a rabbi. And I'm teaching like a rabbi. But I don't believe in any of this. I'm actually an actor. This is just what I'm paid to do. Can you imagine if you guys listened to what I told you to do? You know how destructive that would be in your life? We do this every day. We read magazines, we read newspapers, we see articles, we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram. It's not real. None of it is real. Alma de Shikra. This is Mam Sheker. It's lies. And I know that each of you, when you hear this, you hear what I'm saying. I know you hear what I'm saying. But then all of a sudden, you leave this class and you go back out to the world and everyone tells you it's nonsense. What are you talking about? It's not normal. Are they happy? Did you see any of those people? Did you see that they had Shalom Bayit in their home? Did you see that they're happy? Do you see that they're content? Are they never getting angry? Are they never getting sad? Are they never getting jealous? Are they never hating others? No, everyone's busy with it. In this past week's Parsha, the Jews were saying, bring me back to Mitzrayim. I want to go back to Mitzrayim. It was great there. No, it wasn't. That life sucks. That life is terrible. That's not a good life. That is a very, very difficult life. But the transition from that life to real life is very hard. And it takes tremendous courage. And it takes tremendous resolution. It takes never giving up. It takes crying and pouring your heart out to Hashem. It takes hearing a lot of people laughing at you and scoffing at you. Rabbi Nachman says that in the final generation, it is going to be the simple ones who crown the Mashiach. The simple Jews. They are going to build the crown of the Mashiach that's going to allow him to reign. So if you're asking yourself, why don't I have Emunah? Why am I always suffering? Why am I always struggling? Because you won't let yourself let go of that. It's not real. It's not real. Let's talk about something that's real. Okay? One of my good friends, one of the students here, actually the head of public relations for Tzion, his name is Aaron London. And he, like many of us, has recently taken upon himself to do an hour of Hibodedut a day. And Mamash, he's an inspiration to me, and eventually should be many people. He literally was soul searching, like many of us, and feeling like there's more, and kind of feeling like I always want more. I want a closer relationship with Hashem. I want it so bad. I just don't know how to do it. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I had a long conversation with him. And I told him, I said, listen to me. Do me a favor. I understand where you're coming from. I know what that feels like. It is a terrible feeling to live in that feeling. That's mamish like limbo. Limbo is the worst. Okay? From Hanukkah until Rosh Hashanah, give yourself 6 months with the tzaddik. Give yourself 6 months with Rabbi Nachman. That means learning his Torah. That means doing hipodadut for an hour a day. That means doing whatever you can to try and bring these things into your life. And after that, if you feel you don't feel close to Hashem, if you don't feel like it's helping you, if you don't feel like your faith is growing, if you don't see your life getting better, so you go back and do whatever you want to do. But I really feel that this is for you, and this is going to help you, and this is the answer to your prayers. And he, mamish, has been doing an hour of hipodadut every day, okay, for multiple months now, going into the woods, finding a random place in the woods, and it's not his comfort zone. But he's trying, and he's learning Likutey Moharan every day, and he's learning Shechina, the wisdom of Rabbi Nachman, they call it in English, Rabbi Nachman's soul. And he's trying desperately to bring this into his life. And he's sending me some of his chidushim that he comes up in his hipodadut. And they're getting better and better because his power of imagination is getting purer and purer. And he had a great chiddush. I wanted him to come on and say it today, but he wasn't able to. So Bezrat Hashem, hopefully he'll come with like a video of it. But he got this book that was written by Rav Ozer Bergman. He is a rabbi, a Breslover rabbi, who I met in Uman this past year. Amazing human being, comes from New Jersey, simple yid, and really lives with Rav Nachman's teachings. He wrote a whole book on hipodadut that's called Where Heaven and Earth Kiss. And I've recommended it to multiple people. It's a very nice book. And it's good if you feel like you want to have, like, look at hipodadut from a bigger perspective, what it is, and different ways to do it, and different things to speak about, what you're trying to get out of it. So anyway, in his hipodadut, he was thinking about the first pasuk in the Torah that says, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz." In the beginning, Hashem created the heavens and the earth. He said to himself, "This is not a scientific statement. This is not a proof for Judaism. It's a statement of emunah, a statement of faith. That's how the whole Torah starts." And he says, what's Shemayim? It's the Torah. And what is Aretz, the land? It's Tefillah. So he was thinking to himself, as he got this book, Where Heaven and Earth Kiss, he was thinking, where does heaven and earth actually meet? How can I ever enter a place in this physical world that I'm close to Hashem? That I'm able to, so to speak, find this middle point, this harmony between the physical world and spirituality. He says it's only in hipodadut. Because in hipodadut, you're taking the Torah that you're learning and you're praying about it. So literally, the Torah, which is heaven, and earth, which is prayer, they're kissing in your mouth. So when Hashem said, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz," in the beginning, Hashem created the heavens and the earth. So that means that you are in a process of creation every time that you go to the field and you turn your Torah into tefillah. That you're going back to Maaseh Bereshit. you are becoming a co-creator with Hashem. And it's amazing because this is exactly what we're speaking about. That the pasuk in Tehillim says that Shamayim, heaven, misaprim kavod kel. It declares the glory of Hashem. Okay. However, Rabbi Nachman is now going to do something amazing. He's going to show how what we've learned so far is encompassed within this pasuk. Because Shamayim, Rabbi Nachman just taught in the last class, is the Torah. It's the souls of the Jewish people. Misaprim, which means to declare, declaring is a revelation. Whenever you count something, you're revealing it. This is the deeper reason why Hashem is constantly counting the Jews in the Torah. He's counting Yaakov's sons. Like Rashi says, why? Because he loves them so much. What does it mean he counts them? It means he's bringing them into revelation. When you count something, you're declaring it exists. You're revealing it. So Hashamayim, meaning the souls of the Jewish people that are only in potential, they're not rectified, which is called the Torah, it's only in potential. Misaprim, how is it brought into reality? How is it actualized? How are those souls of the Jewish people rectified and brought back to Hashem? Kavod kel. Hayinu et Torah shehu eish u'mayim, because the Torah is eish and mayim. Like it says in Masechet Hagiga, that the Torah is fire and it's water. What does it mean? So Hashem said, my word is fire. It's a pasuk in the Torah. What's his word? It's the Torah. And elsewhere, Yeshaya says, anyone who's thirsty, come for water. They say in Chagiga, it means Torah. So you see very clearly that the sages are teaching you that the Torah is called fire at times and it's called water at times. It is the composite of those two things. And this is what the Jewish souls are. They're this composite of fire and water. They are a spark of the Torah. That if you took the souls of all the Jewish people, religious, secular, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, Kabbalists, Hasidim, and you take all of their souls, if you take all their souls and put them together, that would be called Torah. But like we know, many of these souls are not realized, they're not revealed, they're only still in potential. Just like the Torah only exists in potential. How do you reveal the Torah? How do you rectify the souls of the Jewish people? How do you give birth to tshuva amongst your friends and family? That a person who's not religious, who's not holding by spirituality, is awakened to come back to Hashem. When you take the Torah that you learn, which we just learned in the last class, is really sparks of Jewish souls, and your mouth is like a womb. Your tefillah is like a womb. So you're taking Jewish souls and you're placing it into a womb. What happens when souls are placed in a womb? They're given birth to. They're revealed. Shehu b'chinat kavod, kel. This is the concept of kavod kel. Kamosh katuv, like it says, simu kavod tehilato. Make his tehillah, meaning make his tefillah called kavod. So the pasuk is saying in Tehillim, David's trying to give you a formula. Don't just pray. Make your prayer called kavod. What does it mean to make your prayer called kavod? Tehilati echtam lach. That for my praise, echtam for you. I'm going to plug up my nose for you. Okay. So what is he talking about here? When you take the Jewish souls, which is called Torah, and you combine it with your tefillah, Meaning you turn Torah into tefillah. You take what you learn and you pray about it. Hanikre kavod. This is called kavod. So when David HaMelech says, make your tehillah, turn your tefillah to Hashem into kavod, it means don't just pray, turn Torah into tefillah. That should be your prayer. Take the Torah that you learn and pray about it. Meaning, pray to actualize it in your life. Ask Hashem to understand it. Ask Hashem to bring it into your life. Because when you do this, that tefillah is called kavod. Al Shem shehi melabeshet otanu. Because the prayer itself, like the womb, it encloses the soul. So meaning very simply, it is the soul that makes your prayer effective. But it's the prayer that rectifies your soul. So you need both. It's like man and wife. The souls of the Jewish people, we're going to call it man. And tefillah, we're going to call it the wife. Can you have a marriage with just a man? Can you have a marriage with just Torah, with just Jewish souls? No. Can you have a marriage with just a female, with just tefillah? No. When is there shalom bayit? When man and woman are together. What does it mean spiritually that man and women are together? Like Rabbi Nachman says that they're equal in the 7th Torah of Likutey Moharan. It means that you turn your Torah into tefillah. Because when you do that, the Torah that you're learning enhances your prayer, and then your prayer enhances your Torah learning. And by doing this, you created something called kavod. Al Shem Jehi melabeshet otanu. And the kavod itself becomes, so to speak, your glory. Like it says, Ki Rabbi Yochanan kara lamane mechabduta. Rabbi Yochanan called his clothes my glory, my kavod. What did he mean? So Rabbi Yochanan was actually the tzaddik ador. He was the tzaddik of the generation. What was his clothing? What was his kavod? It was his students that were praying based on the Torah that he was teaching them. And when they prayed to be able to experience the Torah that Rabbi Yochanan was teaching, so when that happens, that creates the clothing. That reveals the Torah. And then Rabbi Yochanan is able to use that kavod, that clothing, to bring tikkun to the Jewish people. And through this, it's called kavod kel. And then your Torah illuminates your tefillah, and your tefillah illuminates your Torah. Like for instance, there's many people who they just learn. Often you forget what you learned, even if you learn it 1,000,000 times. Often, after you learn, it doesn't actually transfer over to your life. Why is that? Because Torah only exists in potential. That's why the Gemara says that the Torah can either be a spice of life or a spice of death. Because if it's not realized, if it's not actualized, that Torah can actually harm you. So how do you take your Torah, which only exists in potential? You need to pray it out. Now, there are some people, they're the opposite. They pray, and they pray, and they pray, but they don't learn. And then what happens is their prayers, which are meant to actualize the Torah, they have nothing to actualize. They have nothing to make real. So what ends up happening is all that comes out of your mouth is your despair, is your power of imagination. And you're praying based on that. So Rabbi Nachman says that while the Litvaks, they say learn, learn, learn. And the Hasidim, they say pray, pray, pray. I say pray, learn, pray. Because according to the Arizal, according to Kabbalah, what makes each one effective is the other. Like it says in the Gemara that a man who's not married, he doesn't have Torah. What do you mean? If a man learns and he learns and he learns, how do you say he doesn't have Torah? Because he doesn't have tefillah. Because he doesn't have the wife. Because you can't have one without the other. There's nothing wrong with either of them. But each on their own is not whole. It's not complete. I have a student here who mamish lives with Rabbeinu's teachings and was very connected very early. And he started to do hours of Hippodaду. Hours and hours of Hippodadu. He felt very close to Hashem. But then things struck in his life and they started to fall apart like all of us. And I begged him and I told him, please come learn Rabbi Nachman's teachings. Don't just do Hippodadu. Don't just pray. I begged him. I said, please, I'm telling you, I know what that feels like. I know where you're coming from. There's a reason why Rabbi Nachman says it's not enough to do that. You have to also learn. Why? Because you're supposed to be praying what you learn about. Because the Torah, which represents the soul, and the tefillah represents the body. You have a body without a soul, it's not functional. You have a soul without a body, it's never revealed. But when you take your Torah and you turn it into tefillah, then your soul helps your body and your body helps your soul. You need both. That's called the kavod of Hashem. Kavod in Kabbalah is a code word for revelation. Whenever it says in the Torah that the kavod of Hashem was revealed to the Jewish people, to Bnei Yisrael, to the children of Israel in the Mishkan, or to Moshe, or to the Zakanim, the elders, the kavod was revealed, meaning that Hashem was revealed. Kavod is the Shechina, that Hashem is revealed in the world. That's called Hashem's kavod. When is the Shechina revealed in this physical world? When you take the Torah that you learn, which means you need to learn it constantly, and you turn it into tefillah, which means you need to pray constantly. It means every day you need to be learning and praying. And when you do both, you're going to experience the Shechina in your life. And when you do both, people around you will experience the Shechina in their life. But when you only do one or the other, or you don't do either, you will not experience Hashem in this physical world. Because they assist each other, they help each other. Hashem purposely made that each one of them is deficient on its own. It needs the other to be perfected. Because the neshamot, the souls that are in your mouth, meaning the Torah that's in your mouth, they illuminate the tefillah. Because tefillah has nothing of its own. Like a woman, spiritually. A female spiritually has nothing of its own. Your tefillah has nothing of its own. It needs Torah. It needs truth to fill it up, to give it seed. And then when you pray with that, then your Torah actually illuminates your prayers. And those souls, which we learned in last class, every piece of Torah that you learn is really unrectified souls of Jewish people across the world that they're not close to Hashem. And when you take a new piece of Torah that you just learned, and then you turn it into a tefillah, what's actually happening is that that person's soul who's connected to that piece of Torah is entering into your mouth when you pray it over, when you ask Hashem to be able to experience it in your life. And that illuminates your prayer. And then, And then the tefillah actually causes that the souls have chidushim. Meaning, what causes those Jews to do tshuva? They have a chidush. They have a revelation that Hashem exists. What is that? It's called a chidush. A new revelation of godliness. Where is that coming from? It's coming from prayer. Because da'at, chidushim, comes from emunah, comes from tefillah. So in your life, when you take what you learn, which is Jewish souls, and you turn it into prayer, then those souls cause your prayer to be really effective and to bring you to complete emunah. And your emunah causes those souls to be awakened. It causes your Torah to become actualized. It causes you to have chidushim, to have new revelations of godliness in your mind. Because tefillah, or the womb, it renews these souls in the concept of ibor, pregnancy. So very simply, again, what is happening? When you take Torah, you're taking seed. You're placing it into your mouth, which is called a womb. That gives birth to a child. It's called da'at. Da'at is the Mashiach. Da'at is redemption. Da'at is the Shechina. So pray, learn, pray. By the way, I was looking at this Torah that I was doing, and I taught this a few years ago. And I wrote a note here. This is interesting to look back at it. There's a Masorah, there's a tradition in Breslov that the first two Torahs of the Likutey Moharan are actually one Torah that were separated into two. And I was looking to try and see how these two things are connected, I guess, a few years ago when I was looking it over. And Hashem plopped the chidush into my head. The pasuk, which begins this whole chapter, this whole Torah bet, is Tehilati echtam lach. For my praise, meaning when you pray to me, I'm going to plug my nose for you. Meaning Hashem is saying, I'm going to mitigate decrees. Whatever difficulties are in your life, I'm going to nullify them. And I have a note here that the word echtam, to plug up or to nullify, is the gematria 58. What's the gematria 58? Chen. What do we learn in the first Torah in Likutey Moharan? That the key to getting your prayers answered and experiencing Hashem in your life is to have chen. What was chen? Chen was the nun, which is tefillah, prayer, and the chet, chokhmah, Torah. So this whole Torah is really another way of going deeper and explaining the first Torah that we learned together. That the whole purpose is to get to a point that you have chen, that you have grace, so that your prayers get answered. How do you do that? You need the chet, you need Torah, and you need the nun, you need tefillah. Because the nun illuminates and perfects and reveals the chet. And the chet illuminates and perfects the nun. V'haneshemot hamilubashin b'tefillah. These souls, when they're clothed in tefillah in prayer, hamuva'ot tzadik shebador, and then you take that prayer that you just did. So what did you do? You took something that you learned from Rabbi Nachman. You go into the field and you pray to be able to experience it. Maybe it's not even Rabbi Nachman's story. You learn a Gemara, you learn a Mishnah, you learn Musar, you learn Tanakh, you learn Chumash, you learn Tehillim, whatever it is, and you turn it into a prayer. So now, once you did that, you created something called kavod. But how is that kavod ultimately revealed in the world? When you give it to the tzaddik. Because the tzaddik takes all the kavod of the Jewish people, and he builds the Mishkan out of it. He builds the Beit HaMikdash out of it. Meaning he brings redemption out of it. So before you turn Torah into tefillah, you simply say to Hashem, Hashem, please help me to attach myself to the true tzaddikim who exist in this generation, the true tzaddikim who are buried in the earth, and to the tzaddik yesod olam, to the Nachal Naver Mekor Chochmah, to Rabbi Nachman Vega. And by doing that, you bring the kavod, that prayer that you just did, where the Torah influences and strengthens your tefillah, and the tefillah strengthens your Torah, and you created this thing called kavod, meaning the revelation of Hashem. You give it over to the tzaddik, and then the tzaddik uses it, and it's another brick in the Beit HaMikdash. And it brings us closer to the coming of Mashiach. And this is all alluded to in the 45th Torah in Likutey, the 45th parak in Tehillim, where Rashi explains there the whole thing is, or the Radak explains there, that the whole thing is talking about the days of Mashiach. So what does it say there? Betulot achareha re'oteha muvaot lach. Maidens, her companions who follow her, shall be brought to you. So Rabbi Nachman is saying that this is explaining the exact thing we just learned, which is betulot, maidens. Who are the maidens? It's Malchut. It's your tefillah. Achareha, they follow her. Who's following her? It's these fallen souls that are in your mouth. Reotea, her companions. They shall be brought to you. Mevuat lach, brought to who? To the tzaddik. So very simply put, when you take your Torah and you turn it into tefillah and you attach yourself to the tzaddik, then you have taken everything up the full ladder. But if you miss any one of those, you don't get your prayers answered, you don't get closer to Hashem, and you don't bring the world closer to redemption. Everyone here knows people who are suffering, who are struggling, people who are mamish off. Not just in how they look. I'm talking about people that they have no connection to Hashem, they have no connection to spirituality, and you see them and it pains you and it hurts you. What can you do for them? Rabbi Nachman's giving you the answer. Take what you're learning now. Take Rabbi Nachman's Torah, turn it into prayer, and attach it to the tzaddik. And when you do that, you're going to awaken the soul of a Bali Tshuva or a convert somewhere else in the world. And if all the Jewish people are doing this, then we will bring the redemption. Any questions from tonight's class?
Rabbi, you're a tzaddik.
Okay. I know that was a difficult piece. Okay, that was the hardest thing that we've done in Likutey Moharan. If that was hard for you and that didn't make sense to you, it's my fault. It's not your fault. Okay, and just pray to Hashem that you should be able to understand it. But the main thing is that you take whatever you learned tonight, you go to your Ibodedut, and you ask Hashem to be able to experience what Rabbi Nachman is saying. Any questions?
Yeah, Rabbi, what chapter we was learning today?
We just learned the 7th section of the 2nd chapter. The second lesson, it was the 7th section of the 2nd lesson.
Okay, thank you. And can you repeat last word? What you say when you take your learn, when you take your prayer?
Very, very, very simple. You want Lamasa shot. What am I coming out with? Psak halacha. I leave this class. Take everything that you learn and turn it into your own prayer from your own heart. And attach yourself and your prayer to the true tzaddikim. And when you do this, you have brought the redemption closer, and you are elevating and illuminating Jewish souls who are lost within the Sitra Achra. That could be your own parents. That could be your own wife. That could be your own children. That could be your friends and family. That could be the majority of the Jewish world, even if they have a black hat and even if they have a jacket on. Okay? So, yes, very, very simple. Take Torah, turn it into tefillah, attach your prayers to the tzaddik. Doesn't mean you're praying to the tzaddik, you're praying to Hashem. But you're attaching it to the tzaddik because, like we learned, the tzaddik's the only one who knows where the prayers go in the Beit HaMikdash. And we are building the Beit HaMikdash with these prayers. And that's what we're all waiting for. Once the Beit HaMikdash is here, that's it. It's Geula, redemption. Nothing else after that. Peace, wealth, health, happiness, everything. So everything is encompassed within this one lesson. Any other questions? You should have questions. Anybody? Oh, I see there's a, yeah, go ahead.
We spoke about having clarity when we are doing Kippur Dut. When you have these messages that are up and down like a roller coaster, you don't know. From one point you have one thing that you wanted, and then they have another thing that. I can give you an example right now. You say not to look at secular wisdom, like you have these, press relief and all that stuff, what's going on, and people telling you to run away from here and go to Israel, and then everybody's saying everything's fine. Obviously, you're praying to Hashem, you're connecting, and you're talking, and you're happy, but you want to make sure you make the right decision. Follow and do Hashem's will. Obviously, is to be in Israel. So, what do we just pray for that and say, give me the right message, so this way I make the right decision? How do you word it? How do we connect to it so this way it's clear to us? I don't know if it's going to be clear 100%, but anything we could do to come close.
So it's a great question. This is a question that's been asked many times in the classes before even we started Sion. This is something that actually one of the students here, he asked Rav Chaim Kramer this in person, and I saw him respond to him. He asked this exact question. It wasn't in the time of what we're going through right now, but it was coming from the same place. How do I know I'm doing what Hashem wants? I have a million people telling me a million different things. How do I actually know what Hashem wants from me? So that when I come to pray, I'm asking him, but how do I know I'm coming away with the right answer? So if Kramer says that by asking Hashem, you're making the right choice no matter what you do. Because the purpose of this life is not to choose correctly. The purpose of this life is to choose Hashem. It is a misconception to think that you can make the right decision or the wrong decision. Hashem is going to make it the right or the wrong decision. You are not going to make it the right or the wrong decision. If you get married to a person and Hashem wants that marriage to work, that marriage is going to work. If Hashem doesn't want that marriage to work, that marriage is not going to work. So therefore, it's not about marrying the right person. It's about including Hashem in your marriage. And then it will work. Does that make sense? Because
yes.
the secular world teaches you everything hinges on your decisions. And that's not true.
Wait, Rabbi, why not? Because God said you have to choose right or wrong. How come you're saying it's different? You're saying it differently.
No. You have to choose life. I'm saying that life is involving Hashem. That's life. He's called Chaim. He's called life. He's alive.
Yeah, I get it now. Thank you.
Sure. You have to choose. But I'm trying to explain that we are being raised with this idea, and we are being taught and cultivated, even by rabbis. You can choose a complete wrong thing. I can marry the complete wrong person. I can pick the complete wrong job. I can move or not move to Israel. And it's going to be the wrong decision. I had a child, and I didn't mean to have this child. I wanted another one. This world is not about you determining what happens in your life. You don't determine what happens in your life. Your job is to give it back to Hashem and to be simple and tell Hashem and cry to Hashem, say, Hashem, I want what you want. Tell me what you want. And help that whatever I choose is what you want. And if it's not, that is on you. This is why Rabbi Nachman used to speak to Hashem. Rabbi Nachman used to prepare all week for Shabbat. And then Shabbat came, and he said, this Shabbat, I did everything I could. Now I'm going to be happy. Because if something goes wrong on Shabbat, it's not on me. That's on you. How do you feel comfortable talking like that to Hashem? Obviously, only when you're doing your best. You know, if you are trying to do your best and you really just don't know, it is the including Hashem that makes it the right decision. Like I'll tell you, for instance, I love my wife. Okay, I love my wife very much. I think and I know she loves me. But there is nothing else that's common about us. Nothing else. Nothing. And when there was no da'at in the house, when there was not Rabbi Nachman in our home, it was chaos. Because Rabbi Nachman explains that what makes marriages work is da'at. What makes a shidduch work is da'at. Because a man and a woman are complete opposite entities. And therefore there is no meeting place for them. A man is not able to understand and connect to his wife. And she is not able to understand and connect to him. It is only da'at, God consciousness, Hashem, the Torah of Chassidus, that brings together man and wife in harmony. So, did I make the right choice or the wrong choice by marrying my wife? I'm just a person. I made the best decision that I believed I could. When I didn't have Hashem in my life, I made the wrong decision. When I have Hashem in my life, it was the best decision in my life to marry my wife. So the key to making the right or the wrong decision is not the actual decision. It's bringing Hashem in. Does that make sense?
Yes. So basically just praying for it, going, and whatever happens, it comes from Hashem, and being happy with whatever happened.
Yes. And whatever you're doing, whether you're at work, you bring Hashem into it. What does Hashem tell you to do at work? To be honest. Somebody's paying you money to do something. So according to the Torah, you need to do what the person's paying you for. If you're not, then Hashem is not in your workplace. Because Hashem and the Torah are one. What about in your marriage? The Torah tells you you need to have shalom bayit. You need to have peace in your home. But I'm angry and I want to yell. So as soon as you yell, Hashem leaves your house. The Shechina leaves your house. So you need to bring Hashem into your house. Everything in your life, the choice, the choosing of life is to bring Hashem in. It's not making the right decision. You are not God. You are just a person. I am just a person. And even with our best intentions, even with intelligence, even with good advice, you never know what you're doing. So in the end, you're forced to throw yourself on Hashem and beg him that he makes it what he wants for you. When breast lovers get up in the morning, Rabbi Nachman used to do this. When he got up in the morning, he'd say to Hashem, Hashem, today, let today be whatever you want to happen. And for the rest of the day, I'm going to be happy. And then the onus or the burden is not on you anymore. Because you're telling Hashem, I want what you want. So now you're giving me my life, whatever takes place in my day. So now I need you to make this work. I need your help. Because I choose you. I choose whatever you want. Now my obligation is to go be happy. And to go be thankful. And to go be grateful. And then for 1 hour a day, to pour your heart out to Hashem. From a place of truth. And it's difficult. But it's so much more difficult not to. It's so much more difficult not to. Any other questions? Let me see on the bottom here. Is it true that Rabbi Nachman says to spend little time with your own child? I didn't hear Rabbi Nachman say that. I know that it says that in Pirkei Avot, to not spend a lot of time with your wife and children. I know that Rav Arush says that you should spend a lot of time with your children. And my advice is to bring it together. That you bring Hashem into that relationship. You bring Hashem there. If your son was a secular Jew and you were trying to show him that Hashem was real, how would you treat him? Would you treat him harshly? Would you get angry at him? Would you yell at him? No. You would love him. You would show him he's special. You would be patient with him. You would pray for him. And you would wait for him and hope for him that he comes back. Your son or your daughter is not your son or your daughter. It is Hashem's son or daughter. And Hashem is giving you the merit of protecting and safeguarding and watching over that soul. It's like having students. When you are married to a woman, your wife is not your wife. She's not yours. She's Hashem's daughter. And he is giving you her to safeguard and to protect her and to cultivate her. So our job, our mission, if we see fit to accept it, if we want a happy life, is to stop pouring out our own stuff on everyone else and to realize that everything is Hashem. And your wife is Hashem's daughter. And your son is Hashem's son. And you have to be very, very delicate. And you have to be very sensitive. And you have to be very empathetic with Jewish souls. And it's hard. But that's why it's so important that every day you're learning this Torah and you're doing Hipodadut. Because peace in the home is a very important thing. I remember when I went to Someone said, and let people poop all over you. It's okay. It's not you they're pooping on. It's your ego. Nobody can poop on you. Every time that you're having a difficulty, Hashem is humbling you. He is causing you to be a greater vessel for experiencing the revelation of Him.
But how is that possible? If you're actually being like depressed and whatever, like you feel like you can't do anything, you feel like you can't talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what are you supposed to do?
So I'm not telling you to be depressed. Don't be depressed. There's no reason to be depressed. You always have hope. Depression comes from despair. Despair comes from the fact that you're invested in a lie. That lie is, this can't get better, or I'm a failure, or this is X, Y, and Z. None of those things are true. You are good. You were born good. You will leave good. You are a piece of Hashem. You can't change that. Your job is only to reveal that part of yourself. That takes nullifying your ego. And when you don't know how to do that yourself, Hashem does that for you through your wife and your kids and your friends and your boss and your X, Y, and Z. And you think, wow, that's so cruel. Why would Hashem ever do that? And the answer is because it's getting in the way of everything. Your ego is getting in the way of everything. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. It doesn't matter what people say to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people hurt you. It doesn't matter. It hurts because you don't believe in yourself. If you believed in yourself, it wouldn't hurt. It hurts because you're still bound up with your ego. Let go of your ego. Give yourself over to Hashem completely. Give yourself over to the Jewish people completely. Give yourself over to your family completely. And when you have nothing left of yourself, then you will find your real self that you've been looking for your whole life. But when you resist, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. But if you're humble, you're going to be so happy. Humble doesn't mean I'm learning Torah all day. Humble doesn't mean I'm praying all day. Humble means that when people are insulting me, I'm silent. Not just silent outwardly, but silent in my heart as well. There's much more to say about this, so just keep coming, okay? But I'm telling you right now, do not give up. No matter what we're saying here, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, this is called Galut. This is called exile. This is called Igveta de Mashiach. This is called the heels of Mashiach. This is a time of tremendous turbulence and confusion. Your job is to hold on. That is your job. Your job is to hold on. I'll finish with this. This past Shabbat, I told you I was with my family in New Jersey, and the whole day was really hectic. You know, my parents are not observant, so trying to figure out with the fridge. They have like these lights in their fridge. They turn on and off every single time you open and close it. So I was like trying to find any way to make sure we could turn these lights off. But it didn't have a function in the fridge that you could turn the lights off. And there was no other place to put the food. And how am I going to come and say that nobody can eat food on Shabbat? It's like so Baruch Hashem, I found that there was like these magnets. There's this trick that this Jewish person came up with, that you can take magnets and put it on this fridge, and it tricks the fridge into thinking that, something's wrong and the lights turn off. Whatever, okay. There's a lot of stuff. Like, often on Fridays, it's just crazy. And literally, it was just the intensity and the pressure was increasing and increasing and increasing. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And I remember when I was doing my Eibodah, I was like, Hashem, please, Mamish, I just want the Shechina should be in this home for Shabbat. Please help that this home should be happy on Shabbat. That my family should be happy on Shabbat. My kids should be happy that you should be in this house. Hashem, please be in this house on Shabbat. And I remember we're all then going to come light the candles. And as soon as we're lighting the candles and Shabbat comes in, everyone just, like nothing happened. Like all of the craziness that took place until the lighting of the candles, like it never happened. Because it's Shabbat now. We are very close to the great Shabbat. We are in the final day. The reason it feels like craziness is because it's Friday and we're preparing for Shabbat. But as soon as Shabbat comes in, that's it. Like we're all dreamers. Like it never happened. How do you get to Shabbat? You need to hold on. Just hold on. Because Shabbat is coming. You can't stop Shabbat. Shabbat is coming. So at Hashem, Shabbat should come soon. We should all see the Mashiach. Rabbi Amenu. We should see the Beit HaMikdash. Rabbi Amenu. We should see the health of all the Jewish people. We should see happiness and peace and joy and truth. We should see belief, Amunah, Shlema. Every single Jew. Tomorrow night is a women's class. I highly suggest, if you know anyone, to tell them to come. We're starting a brand new series on Tehillim. It's going to be beautiful, B'ezrat Hashem. And then Thursday we'll have the final men's class before the physical Shabbat of the week. So in the meantime, your job from now until then, take the Torah that you learned from these past two classes, turn it into prayer. Live with it. Abraham, you have your hand up. I'm so sorry. If you, I have to go because it's 10:30. But if you want to tell over your story, you should. But if you want to wait, and I'll try to make a better effort to get it in and keep it more conscientious. And then on Thursday, you can give it over nicely. Is that okay? If you give it over on Thursday? Can't hear anything. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope it is. Everybody have a great night, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.